Welcome everybody to the Forum 8, initiating cooperation between UK and the Land, Baden-Württemberg. I see that already people are joining, but I would like to give them 1-2 minutes more, as I heard that one of the previous sessions, they needed a bit longer, so they're just finishing, and to give them some time to come over to us, I would say in 1-2 minutes, I would hand the word over to our moderator, Matthias Frank.
Shall we kick off then? So a very warm welcome from my side as well to our workshop initiating cooperation between UK and the Land Baden-Württemberg. My name is Matthias Frank. I'm working for London and Partners and doing business development for London. Unfortunately, due to the current COVID situation, this is an online event only. We would love to host you in person as a physical event in Stuttgart today, but it is what it is. On a positive note, or probably one of the only positive outcomes of the pandemic is that life science received a higher investment across the globe. Innovative and disruptive technology and solutions are brought into our healthcare systems. Europe is one of the fastest growing regions for health tech investments, led by the Golden Triangle, London, Oxford, Cambridge. At the same time, Germany is probably the hottest place for the digital transformation in life science. The German federal government heavily invested in this technology and solution and attracts developers and innovative companies from all over the globe. So this is actually a pretty promising framework we find here in Europe in our regions. And today's session is about how we could bring together those two ecosystems, the UK and Baden-Württemberg, where we can collaborate closer and to deliver the innovation to our healthcare systems, where we need to speed up and where we build on existing activities, and obviously where to start and how to start. Today we have an impressive expertise on our panel, experts on building ecosystems and foster innovation. We have a commercial business here at our panel with UK and Germany or Baden-Württemberg experience, and a professional business developer, which latest responsibility is now to foster collaboration between the UK and Baden-Württemberg. To give you a brief outlook, what happens in the next 45 minutes, at the beginning, our two ecosystem experts from MedCity and BIOPRO will introduce their organizations before we start with our panel discussion. For the last 10-15 minutes, we have some time for Q&A, and I would like to encourage all our attendees to put questions into the chat. But let's kick off now with a brief introduction of our panelists. May I ask Ivana to introduce yourself quickly to the audience?
Sure, thank you, Matthias. My name is Ivana Poparic. I'm a head of cluster development within MedCity, which is a cluster organization for London.
Nicola, we follow the old ladies first rule.
Hi, my name is Nicola Pinder. I'm the new representative of Baden-Württemberg, manning or womaning the post in London, which is actually going to cover the whole of the UK, so including all of the nations and regions of the UK.
Dr. Schetter.
Yes, a pleasure. I'm since mid of September this year CSO of Rentschler Biopharma, and we have operations in the US, in Stevenage close to London, and headquartered in Laupheim in Baden-Württemberg.
And last but not least, the co-organizer, Professor Dr. Kindervater.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Ralf Kindervater. I'm CEO of BIOPRO Baden-Württemberg GmbH, which is the state innovation agency for the healthcare system in Baden-Württemberg.
Thank you very much. Ivana, may I ask you to start your presentation and introduce MedCity to our audience?
Sure. Can you see my screen? I'm just going to very quickly put the slides on. Can you see this?
Yes, we do.
Great. So let me then begin. So my name is Ivana Poparic. As I said, I lead the life sciences cluster development for the MedCity, and I'm going to shortly introduce you to the London life sciences ecosystem and collaboration opportunities for our colleagues from Baden-Württemberg. So our organization, we are, as I said, cluster organization for primarily for the health and life sciences sector in London. What does that actually mean in real life is that we actually work in partnership with London's leading universities. Among the 10 global universities in the world, London has 3 of them, which includes Imperial College, UCL, King's College London, and then also there is a Queen Mary University, which is actually one of the top 20 universities for the life sciences globally. So what we do is we connect our founders from those universities with private industry and also with partners in the NHS. So National Health Service, as some of you might know, is our national public healthcare network that works very closely with the educational sector, but also with the charity sector, which in life sciences is very strong in the UK, and the independent research institutes. So to give you an idea of how complex this space is solely in the London area, you can see here the number of organizations that we have that work in healthcare and life sciences research only across the city. So I'm not going to go through this list, just to give you a few of the highlights. London in itself basically means access to the more than 8 million patients that are living in this area. And if we look at the southeast of England, which has the referral centers in London, we're talking about the population of 20 million people, which then is serviced by 140 specialist services. And there is a number of decision makers within that healthcare system that companies coming in need to talk to if they want to get their products into the market. And then we have other centers in primary, secondary, and tertiary care that you need to be aware of if you're looking at working in this landscape. And then on the research and academia side, we have even a higher complexity of organizations that receive the government funding to work together with industry and develop the new technologies. Separate from that, I just wanted to highlight the opportunities in bioinformatics, especially for companies that have digital technologies. So the 100,000 genome projects actually now has more than 500,000 genomes collected, and there is also 3 separate genomic medicine centers. I'm not going to talk about clinical trials because that would go into a lot of detail, but just to show you how the cluster actually works, you can see some of the organizations that are on the previous slide here and what are the links between them. And really what I wanted to emphasize with this slide is that we are all operating in a very small geographical region, but there is a lot of cross collaboration, not just within the life sciences, universities and hospitals, but also across the sectors. So for instance, Alan Turing Institute is a data science institute that works really well with several of the healthcare organizations in London. And this slide is just to give you an idea of what a cluster organization like ours would be doing to support that connectivity, not just between the regions within England, but also internationally. So the first thing that it would be interesting to our partners from Baden-Württemberg is that we act as a landing pad within London and help companies find the right type of facilities, the right type of partners, and also we provide access to the investment through our investment hub. We also have internal funding opportunities for small and medium-sized companies that want to partner with London universities. And we have a number of platforms across different technologies where we bring together industry, hospital partners and universities that are developing new technologies, particularly in the areas of advanced therapies and digital health. And most recently, we have launched during the COVID pandemic a network called Diagnostic Grow Hub that is specifically focused on accelerating the development and access to our market for the diagnostic technologies that goes all across from your point of care diagnostics, PCR-based tests to the imaging and remote monitoring technologies. So this kind of gives you a little bit of an idea what type of services and support you can get from cluster organizations. In the UK, there are several of them. So in the south, MedCity is obviously representing London and Golden Triangle, which includes Cambridge and Oxford. We have our partners from Northern Health Science Alliance in the north, and then there is a number of other cluster organizations around the country that you can access. And just to finalize my slides, if you have any questions or you want to consider coming into the UK, whether to find collaborations or actually to land and set up your operations, you can always contact our team. And also here's my email as well. And we can see whether we can help you or we can refer you to other organizations that provide support to our overseas partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivana. Professor Kindervater, the virtual stage is yours. Please share your presentations with us.
Yep. Okay, so now it's my turn from UK capital to one of the strongest states in Germany and also all over Europe. I would like to share information about the healthcare industry location Baden-Württemberg with you. So first of all, what is Baden-Württemberg? As I already mentioned, innovation agency dealing with the healthcare industry, but as a surplus to be presented at the end of my short presentation. We also deal with the whole healthcare system or ecosystem, as you might call it, in Baden-Württemberg. And something which I won't touch today, we are also in the sustainability and climate protection area active with the so-called bioeconomy or bio-based industry. BIOPRO Baden-Württemberg is nearly 20 years old, but having that age doesn't mean that we have been doing all similar things over the last 19, 20 years. We started in a BIOPRO 1.0 style as a pure biotech agency that changed in dealing with healthcare industry, pharma and medical technology. In BIOPRO 3.0, we went into the whole healthcare industry, and since 2018 we are responsible for the whole healthcare system and the strengthening this healthcare location as a new task. Our main targets are to initiate cooperations. Therefore, I like to be here today to foster potential partnerships with London area and with the rest of Great Britain, with the UK. We proceed in location development to tell people what's about healthcare industry. We give support to startup projects like Ivana mentioned it on her side. And we together with Baden-Württemberg International, we do healthcare trade fair participation. And because all these healthcare stuff, biotech, pharma, medical technology with all its innovation needs a large amount of explanation to the public, to the society. We do public relation and societal information via web portals, via publications, and via social media. So something which, at least in the not earlier than 5 years ago, Baden-Württemberg was only described as a machine building and automotive location. And also together with our work, year by year, publishing data on the healthcare industry location Baden-Württemberg, we really got a change also in the policy of Baden-Württemberg, that nowadays the healthcare industry with its pharma, biotech and medical technology system is regarded as the third strong column of Baden-Württemberg's economy. And as in automotive and in machine building, there's a lot of change going on. The healthcare industry sector by our political leaders is nowadays regarded as a very trusted economy part where also future transformation of existing industries moving into healthcare industry is being recognized as a very high potential movement. To give you some numbers, this is part of my number crunching. I will show to you to state those things I just pretended on. Healthcare industry location, Baden-Württemberg has around about 840 medical technology companies with those additional numbers in terms of employees and taxable turnover you see. The pharmaceutical industry is smaller, but in relation nearly as half as powerful as the medical technology segment, because many of these, over nearly the half of that 840 companies, are very, very small companies, SMEs, and they need special protection in terms of medical device regulation, which came new from European Union, and other regulations that will come up. And we have round about 188 biotech companies with a sort of also a respectable taxable turnover, because many of these biotech companies, of course, in the beginning when they start to work, they produce losses, and only if they get more adult in the economy development, they then are able to also produce positive turnover. The medical technology location Baden-Württemberg is very, very diverse. Only last week there was a Medica, is what's Corona-like, smaller than normal. We had a joint booth with Baden-Württemberg International, around about 30 participants, and in the whole Medica there typically are more than 300 companies. Yeah, so and you see, talking about Medica and seeing this graphic, you can assume how many companies are dealing with the highly variant product scenarios in medical technology. Pharmaceutical industry in Baden-Württemberg, we have a colleague from Rentschler with us, Mr. Schetter. We have the classical pharmaceuticals, we have, but also powerful homeopathies, phytopharmaceuticals, contract research development, contract production, and also generic drugs. That's the pharma location Baden-Württemberg. In the biotech, and this could also fit very nicely to Ivana's presentation, we have a large number of companies dealing with analytics, consumables and devices, therapeutics, contract research and development, custom production, and bioinformatics. And the overall founding statistics can be seen on this slide. This is roundabout between 10 and 5 biotech company foundations every year. Of course, you also have a loss in terms of mergers and acquisition and sales, also shutdown of business. But this gives us this constant flow of companies that you've seen in the previous slide. The typical topics and trends we deal with in the whole healthcare industry can be seen in this tech cloud. And here you see a high similarity to Ivana's topics. Some additional things which only recently came up is quantum technology. We also go in the hospital of the future. So also combining digitalization with new workflow procedures, with new products, because innovations in the product field also changes typical operations in the clinics and at medical doctor sites, and we also deal with those topics. The very, very fantastic step that could be achieved not longer than 2.5 years ago, to have a new policy format of a really coherent policy mechanism. And this in Baden-Württemberg is called Forum Health Region Baden-Württemberg. This is, and this you can see on the left slide, this is really guided and driven by our Prime Minister President, Winfried Kretschmann, who is really burning for the healthcare sector. And in this structure, the Minister President and his cabinet, Council of Ministers, really have a joint activity between the Ministry of Research, Science and the Arts, with the Ministry of Economic Affairs, with the Ministry of Health. And together with the group of these ministries, there is an interministerial working group where the normal categories of things ministries deal with are really made equal. Yeah, so that we don't have this typical ivory towers that I know from other states in Germany and also from the federal level, that you have all the research being guided from the Ministry of Science and Research. The economic affairs are only driven by the Ministry of Economic Affairs, and all aspects of healthcare are being guided from the Ministry of Health. And this is different in this scenario. We have more than 500 stakeholders, from researchers to industry to therapists and people who do also care. Yeah, and this is a joint activity. The topics of that forum is digitalization, precision medicine, innovation and translational medicine, all the legal aspects of regulations, educating, training and studies, and of course to cope with COVID-19 situation. So 10 minutes if you want to contact us. BIOPRO is a central point of contact, and we closely collaborate with Baden-Württemberg International, like a ministerial, like a partner of the inner stuff in Baden-Württemberg, and Baden-Württemberg International being a part to do the foreign things. But in joint activities with the UK, we both, Baden-Württemberg International and BIOPRO, collaborates to get these cooperation scenarios up and running. Okay, thank you very much.
Many thanks, Professor Kindervater. May I ask our panelists to switch on the cameras? I mean, a very promising start. Thank you very much for those presentations. Seems like that we have two heavyweights for health, for life science and health tech here on the panel today. So actually should be rather easy to foster and to develop partnerships across the regions. Let's bring in a different view or an additional view, someone from the commercial world. Dr. Christian Schetter, you are the Chief Scientific Officer for Rentschler Biopharma, and your organization is operating globally, but also in the UK and headquartered in Baden-Württemberg. So you're familiar with the business cultures from both sides of the channel. You are familiar with the heterogeneous healthcare systems. From your point of view, where would you say are the challenges for developing collaborations or cooperation in the life science sector? Or how can we find the easy ones, the low-hanging fruits, and where we should start?
Well, thanks a lot. That's, of course, a very comprehensive question here. But to take a first step, I think it's important to note that Rentschler is, of course, a full-service CDMO. That basically means we work closely with our clients, and it doesn't matter where the clients come from. They expect from us to get biopharmaceuticals of very complex molecules in the highest quality, being suitable to being put into the clinical development or into the market. So we work with all, regulatory authorities, and that is across Europe, UK, US, and what have you. So we observe, of course, that it is basically very important to simply have a very flexible approach to this. And we, of course, advise our clients what needs to be done for the various regulatory authorities. And before I joined Rentschler, I was running a couple of biotech companies, and we did a lot of work in Europe, in Germany, in the UK, because it offers huge opportunities. You need to go where the patients are, you need to go where the technology and the expertise is. Sometimes that means UK, sometimes that means the US, and sometimes you can stay in Germany or Central Europe. Where it becomes tricky at the end of the day is not for us as a service provider, because we have this experience. It is more for our clients, who really have to think about the end game, which is to put drugs into the marketplace. And it is really a nightmare to have successfully, registered your product for marketing, and then you have to discuss with each and every government the reimbursement schedule, and that really kills innovation. So I think we help a lot to our clients to make sure they can proceed on the development path in the various countries. So that's not an issue on that front. It becomes an issue very late in the game. If you are really small, you don't have the, back office and the supportive functions within your company. And I think that is where facilitating cooperation across borders, that would be tremendously helpful, to not make it too complex. I mean, it doesn't even matter if this is UK or Europe. Even Europe has, over 27 different agencies you have to talk to. And that's the reason, and then I stop, that everyone looks at the US to be the most attractive market, because you are servicing over 200 million people with just one agency. And this is what is crucially missing in Europe and UK, that we facilitate this. Before this, it's manageable, then it becomes a nightmare.
And where's the low-hanging fruit?
Well, the low-hanging fruit is, of course, that you really, use these opportunities, as I said, for development, because speed to the market is the main aspect for value creation. And, there it is really feasible and manageable to use these opportunities and not being afraid. If you, a German company, to do a trial in the UK, because you have the expert there and the right patients. We did this with one of my last companies, Rigontech. We worked, with their clinic in London, who was one of the only ones in the world to do this intratumoral injection in this way. And of course, vice versa. There are other practices here we have in Central Europe and Germany, where you go the other way. I think that's the low-hanging fruit, because this is doable, this is speeding up development, and this is where you should just leverage the various opportunities to the best. So I think that's a real opportunity.
Thank you. That actually fits nicely to my next question for Nicola. You've been to London recently, and you attended the opening ceremony of Baden-Württemberg's new UK office. On this occasion, you joined a life science delegation from the academia and research and business world, and you met stakeholders from London. I mean, please tell us a bit about your impression and your takeaways. I think there's a lot of existing relations and a lot of activities already going on, especially in the area of research and clinical trials. Is that promising, or do you really need to develop the life science network between Baden-Württemberg and the UK and especially London from scratch?
Yes, absolutely, Matthias. Thanks very much. We had a delegation of academics and business representatives in pharma and also in the area of AI in pharma in London and Oxford 2 weeks ago. And it was clear that there are already some really strong existing links between the university institutions in Baden-Württemberg, in Heidelberg, Mannheim and Tübingen, for example, and also, with partner institutions in the UK. So there was a great interest in exchanging with our group from senior representatives at UCL, King's College, Oxford University, the Francis Crick Institute, and also GSK and Imperial College. And it's clear that there's a real consensus to work across borders to find global solutions to global problems, such as has really been emphasized and highlighted during the COVID-19 pandemic, and an impetus to make use of each other's strengths and to build on those, exactly as here Dr. Schetter has just said. Partnerships, it was a word that was used a lot during the 3 days, and there are several really good examples where the UK and Baden-Württemberg can really complement each other in the different approaches to clinical need. So Germany, for example, uses a lot of precision therapies, and the UK has more of a kind of one-size-fits-all model due to our healthcare delivery system, which is, of course, centralised through the NHS. Also in research, for example, open research data is available for modelling, for example, AI solutions in healthcare using real patient records. And, that's not, that kind of access isn't available in Germany at the moment. So there was real concrete examples where we can actually really help each other. And I think really where there's a will, there's a way. And my impression during the 3 days of the delegation in the UK is that there really is a strong common will on both sides, both in the UK and in Baden-Württemberg, to find ways to work together and build on each other's market challenges. So I think that there's loads of opportunity for potential.
Thank you, Nicola. So it seems at the bottom end, there's a lot of going on, and there's a lot of opportunities for us, which our experts here or representatives could influence. At the top of the regulation agencies and the authorities, it's probably a little bit more challenging, and that's probably only we can tackle them indirectly. But I think the stronger the collaboration and partnerships at the bottom, the more pressure we can put on the high level of that ladder and decision-making process for harmonizing our systems and to avoid and to reduce any roadblocks. My next question actually would be Ivana, but you told me that you have to switch rooms. Are you okay? Otherwise, I'm gonna ask Professor Kindervater first.
I'm fine.
You're fine?
I changed the room.
Already, good. So then my next question is for you. Clearly that came through during your presentation, London, and it's quite famous. It has a reputation for being a very international business hub in Europe or globally. It attracts talents and businesses and investors from all over the globe, and probably you are quite experienced with having those international relationships and partnerships. When developing something, not necessarily from scratch, but let's say extend or deepen those relations, and as I said before, trying to develop a framework, something to put more pressure on the regulation authorities. Is there a playbook? Is there a do's and don'ts to develop, let's say, efficient and powerful partnerships?
Well, if you're talking about the regulation itself, I would say we are really not the best at the moment to comment on that. There is a lot of uncertainty around the regulation in the UK, as everyone here might know. But in terms of developing a cluster, I think London has done really well and is probably one of the leading healthcare clusters in the world. What helps is obviously having this high level of expertise. So in a very small area, we'll have 4 extremely strong universities that each of them is actually leading globally in a specific research areas. So those working together while not competing is one of the key reasons why cluster is working well. And one of the reasons why our organization exists is actually it has been co-founded by the universities in London to help them collaborate. Obviously, it helps that London is also a financial center. There's a lot of private investment here on the side of the public investment that goes into the life sciences industry, and especially in that early stages of innovation through our innovation hub and other programs that we have with venture capitalists. We see a lot of opportunities for small companies or even startups that are looking to do R&D. I would say finally you have to have a strong support from the policymakers. So we work together both with government departments, including Department of Health and Social Care, Department of International Trade, to work with our external partners, Department of Business, but also with the local government. So within London, there are pockets of R&D activity, and what allows that to maintain and develop further is the local government recognizing the importance of life sciences and healthcare industry to bring jobs and to bring investment into their own region. So I would say those are kind of key ingredients. How you play with them, it really depends on the local circumstances.
Thank you. So if I understood that correctly, so a good university landscape, investors, and a good relation with policymakers. Professor Kindervater, I mean, Baden-Württemberg is part of what I call the Southern Powerhouse. You have a huge cluster of leading universities, plenty of hidden champions. You are one of the wealthiest states in Germany, with a lot of market leaders, which offers plenty of business opportunities, which you presented before. And you have almost 20 years experiences in that field, building those clusters. Would you agree on what Ivana described as a kind of perfect recipe for building such a cluster? And where do you see the biggest opportunity? And again, in the context of working cross boundaries and in different systems with different reimbursements, beside the approval process for the agencies, where do you see the biggest need where we could work together closer, and where's a higher, or where's the biggest opportunity?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The point is, what I couldn't show in my 10 minutes presentation is, in Baden-Württemberg, we have a real ecosystem of clusters. We have pharma clusters, we have biotech clusters, and Christian Schetter with Rentschler is part of so-called Biopharma Cluster South in the Ulm-Laupheim-Biberach area, where we have a location of a very condensed infrastructure of pharma companies and pharma-related companies. But we also have biotech clusters in Heidelberg, in Freiburg, in Ulm, in Greater Stuttgart area, in the Konstanz area, and we have medtech activities in the larger Tuttlingen area, and BIOPRO. I would call us an umbrella, because all these clusters have to have international relations, they have to deal with their stakeholders within the cluster, and therefore we call our activity sort of a guidance and support of the ecosystem, with each and every specialization, more biotech, more pharma, more medtech, more therapeutic, more diagnostic, yeah, and that's why we would have had an explosion of time if we would have shown all the Baden-Württemberg competencies. I think, and I know Ivana herself since nearly 14 days, 3 weeks when we start to organize this within our UK project. And therefore we have to develop these similarities, and not only BIOPRO and the London area, of course, whole of UK, but as this delegation, which I unluckily couldn't join, was there, and then people have reported to me, as you did, Nicola. We have to work out science and technology related topics where we could do joint activities, where we have good coherent interaction with each other, which could be KI activities, as already mentioned, applied digitalization, which is very interesting to us, but also the personalized medicine, where we do not only develop dedicated therapeutic principles, we also deal with production technology topics to have this individualized medicines of the future on an individualized level being produced. Yeah, but because this would interest me to you, Mr. Schetter, how you would probably cope with this personalized and individualized medicine in terms of manufacturing that in the future, if you really have one person individualized medicine. And also, of course, the advanced therapies, which is closely related to personalized medicine. But beside all this, and this has also been pointed out by various people, we have to cope with regulation. Yeah, because this could be a very good interaction topic, because we are very familiar with the regulations in Europe now, the novel ones, because we have to fight for our company. Yeah, working very closely with our Ministry of Economic Affairs. We really deal with Brussels in a very close, I would call it, clinch situation, because our Minister of Economic Affairs to be part later in this meeting, and also our Prime Minister. Yeah, they really are very aggressive when it comes to the European question, to not coping with the life science industries, and only hindering them in terms of patient safety. And what was the outcome of that? That due to the fact that many medical technology products probably will be discontinued, yeah, we will have also a problem with healthcare of rare diseases and other topics. So as a last topic, of course, when we get closer into collaboration, Ivana, I also would like to talk about supply chain topics. Yeah, this is also part what Christian Schetter said. Yeah, you always have to have these supply chains or value-added chains in mind, and this could also be a very, very, very fruitful part of cooperation, not only at the top level of science and technology, also in this, let's call it rather basic topics, but according to Christian Schetter, also this has to be dissolved.
Yeah, thank you. I know we are running out of time. May I ask a question to all of you, and this is probably more from my personal experience with business development, that area, and a crucial part of my job is helping companies, especially startups and scale-ups, to expand to London, and I do this in various sectors, and obviously a lot of fintech and finance companies are interested in London. What a surprise! But what I always experience is they are fantastic and innovative companies, and in the past those founders or people they studied abroad, they worked abroad, they are used to the international research community or part of it. But when it comes to internationalize a product, somehow the knowledge of the systems, yes, they are heterogeneous. It's sometimes complicated. It's not about even within the EU. I mean, it's challenging. So why is that? Why? And it seems sometimes that the knowledge about the access to a system, to a market, is let's say less developed. Even those people have experience. Do we may have to educate innovative companies or founders about the opportunities? Because I mean, even they lived abroad and studied abroad and did PhD in the US or in the UK or Germany, it seems like that the knowledge, or they overestimate the effort, and most of them don't have the resources like the Johnsons and the Pfizers or the Renschlers of this world where can easily push this through. So is it maybe also an education and awareness topic we should table?
If I could
Open
say
question
something,
to all of you.
if I could maybe raise a point here first, I think it's important to mention the difference in the markets in terms of access to capital and the importance that that plays in terms of helping companies to scale and inevitably to implement their solutions. And I think that that is potentially more readily available in the UK than it is in Germany as a different type of capital. And there are a lot of players in terms of ranging from business angels to larger VCs who are very ready to invest in pre-seed and seed rounds for healthcare companies and pharma companies. And I think that that is something that plays a huge role in terms of fostering this commercialization culture and also a culture of entrepreneurship, which is very, very present in the UK. So I don't think it's necessarily a lack of knowledge. I think it's a lack of sometimes the correct mix of market solutions, which enables people to really grow and scale companies, but inevitably to be able to bring their solutions to the marketplace. And I think that that's where we can really work together, because I think that the UK market can present still a very viable opportunity to Baden-Württemberg companies as a place to scale and grow. But Germany can also provide some fantastic research and development facilities and expertise and knowledge to UK companies, and different approaches to healthcare that are not necessarily already in practice in the UK.
Other thoughts, any other ideas, or you all agree? Yeah, I mean, me kind of commuting between both systems, I see in both systems fantastic opportunities and very developed and established landscapes and networks. So I think Professor Kindervater, you ready?
Yeah, I would like to point out a little bit from the German side, and I think Christian Schetter, you also could state, having this long-term view. Before I came to Stuttgart, 2002, 2003, I was working for a location in Thuringia called Jena from 1997 on, and I think things have changed. Yeah. In Germany, we had a new market, and this new market failed around the 2000s. And at those days, we had founders and startup managers who really were that style that you just described, Matthias. In between, let's really call it 20 years later, yeah, we have serial entrepreneurs on stage. And I think you, Christian Schetter, although you are now working for Renschler, you are a bit of that, what I got out of our first contact, also in preparation of this conference. And I think this business angel stuff, together with serial entrepreneurship and many helping tools we have established in our startup Baden-Württemberg activities, also guided by our Ministry of Economic Affairs and our states bank, the so-called L bank, like Landesbank. There is, except for the expansion phase, in the life science sector. Yeah, there is really not to close, because not everybody should get such money, but there is a dense network of support. Yeah, but especially this expansion phase, and I hope to discuss this with Christian later when we have this face-to-face talk later this afternoon, to deepen this also a bit. What can we do to cooperate to get this expansion phase being fixed? Because I think there we need not only one investor, there you need investor consortia. Yeah, and of course there must be a lead investor and many following investors, and there's a question how we can really develop sort of a partnership.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it sounds very promising, because again we have two very well developed and powerful regions. So maybe it takes a little bit more effort and to twist it here and there, but I think there are plenty of opportunities. We're almost running out of time, and I would like to have at least a few minutes left for Q&A. So my last final questions to all of you, and talking again about the two system and cultures. I'm gonna ask our friends and colleagues from the UK and London, either by passport or by job. What strikes you the most from the UK, from the Baden-Württemberg or the German mindset, and which strength we should bring together to generate real win-win situations? And to Dr. Schetter and Professor Kindervater, vice versa, what you admire most about the London and UK ecosystem, which you would like to transfer into our cultural mindset? Ivana?
Well, there is so many things to mention. I mean, what UK definitely doesn't have and Baden-Württemberg is really strong in is obviously manufacturing capabilities, especially around medical devices, that we would be really privileged to have. I think another thing that is really important for life sciences and healthcare, not to politicize too much, is having the government that understands the life sciences. So, I mean, if UK had a prime minister who was from a life sciences background, who knows where we would be nowadays. But I think those are two top things that we really admire on our side, even within the communities that are not really life sciences focused. So investment community always looks at Germany for those things.
Nicola?
I think from my side, what struck me certainly during the exchanges with the delegation a couple of weeks ago were all of the approaches that I was hearing about from Germany to personalized patients' therapies, and certainly in the area of advanced therapies for cancer, and this really personalized approach to clinical unmet need. Which, as I mentioned before, in the UK is not necessarily the case at the moment. We seem to be certainly, in terms of implementation, lagging behind in that area. So I think that there'd be a lot that we could learn from German colleagues there and from Baden-Württemberg.
What about the dialect? No, I don't want to go on that way. Dr. Schetter, Professor Kindervater, what strengths you see or we could learn or implement here from the UK?
Yeah, I think Nicola already mentioned one important thing, which is this dramatically much better finance system. You have really major VCs in London, and you have a great attractiveness, which maybe historically that the US is looking to the UK first. And basically that's a huge opportunity, and that also is reflected in the view pharma has on the UK. It's more present, the big pharma. And that is something which would be quite helpful to have in Germany as well. So on the other hand, it's an opportunity for collaboration. So that's how I see it.
Thank you. And Professor Kindervater?
Yeah, for me, MedCity London is a very condensed, very close, viable, thrilling cluster. Yeah, where you don't. I mean, Greater London area is also an area, but the distances between locations, what we see on Ivana's map, yeah, this is really a very condensed, packed center of know-how and of activity. And in future, I would like to exploit this much more, and also to, as I mentioned earlier, to get our ecosystem, yeah, of these many clusters of various capabilities in very close contact to you, and develop with you also this vice versa activity of clinical studies, of regulations, where you probably might also need some support or some help, yeah, to open the German and Europe ecosystem of that kind to your companies. Might they be startups, or might they be already existing and established companies? Because this would make ourselves, I think, very strong in the cooperational fact.
Many thanks. Yeah, it seems like, as I said before, to very high developed ecosystems, and probably with a twist here and there, and especially having a regular exchange of experiences and collaboration probably could bring the two ecosystems together, and we could learn a lot from each other, whether it's on the weakness side or on the strength side. But avoiding mistakes is always a good thing, and instead of reinventing the wheel twice or 5 times. With that, I would like to close the panel, and I see I have at least one question in our chat. And it's, oops, I have to remove that. It's from Ali Asadipur. He says, thank you for your presentations. Are there supports available for MedCity and BIOPRO for academic institutions outside your existing network with research interests in healthcare technologies? So in a nutshell, how to join your network and what are your priorities?
If I may start.
Yeah,
so
please.
yes, we also support any type of overseas organization that wants to do life sciences or healthcare based activities in London. You can contact us via our website. We actually work with quite a few universities from abroad, and if we are not the right organization to help you, we can connect you to organizations in London or nationally that can work with you to support you in your activities.
Yeah, same from my/our side. Together with Baden-Württemberg International, we are working like musketeers in terms of switching things from the competence side in location marketing. Baden-Württemberg International is the one, and I showed the slides in my last slide, the contacts, and this probably will also be shared. And the BIOPRO part is to have all the knowledge within our ecosystem where you best would fit in. Yeah, and also discussion mustn't be only one place, could also be joint activities at the one or the other location in joint activities. But there, whosoever you contact, whether BIOPRO or Baden-Württemberg International, in the end you will have a role in Baden-Württemberg.
Thank you very much. If no further questions, I would like to wrap up and finish. And a big thank you to our panelists and attendees here today. And I'm sure that we will share presentations with the contact details. I think the organizers will sort this out. So once you're registered here on the platform, I'm sure contact details and presentations are available. Otherwise, if there are any further questions, please get in touch with us through the organizers, and we're more than happy to do a follow-up. With that, thank you very much, and have a nice afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye.